Hi friends, May Flom here, and I'm super excited today because I am working on a Disneybound look inspired by the movie Encanto, specifically Tia Pepa. And her earrings, I realized I have these starburst earrings from an old Jesse James Beads Magical Mystery bead box that are exactly perfect for her earrings, would be super simple to make. But I also have these new enamel chains from Jesse James Beads that they sent me. And this one in particular, I thought, well, she doesn't wear a necklace, but I love a good accessory. And if as long as I'm making the starburst earrings, which by the way, just hook them on to an ear wire and you're good to go, let's turn the camera on and record and let's make a necklace. So wire wrapping style of jewelry making intimidated me until last year. I never ever tried it. And I wish I had because I really like the look of it and it can help you add some beads and details to chain in a way that you can't if you're just stringing beads. What I am doing here is I've got this ring that's I'm going to hang this moon off this ring, and I'm just getting I made a little loop with round nose pliers, and I'm just getting it on to that ring, and then I'm holding it there in place with my pliers and twisting nice and firmly and tightly. And by the way, this stuff, it takes practice. You just have to do it a couple of times, then a bunch of more times. And I recommend just practicing with pieces of wire with nothing particular in mind. You can always cut the wire and save the beads. Anyhow, I spent months just playing with the wire before I ever tried to actually make a jewelry piece. Not that you have to do it like that, like me. I just did because I struggled with it at first. Anyhow, snip the end, and then eventually we will tuck that little end in if there is one. But I have found that if I put the beads on first, it's much easier to get that little end to tuck in nicely. So we'll do that. Anyhow, the key thing is here, when you're doing wire wrapping like this, where you're making a loop and wire wrapping it, you're making a nice sturdy little connector for the beads, but it's also permanent, meaning it's not a simple loop or like a jump ring where you can just open and close it. It's sealed. So you have to kind of think ahead. And in this case, I'm sealing it to this ring that is going to dangle the moon pendant. And the other end, I'm going to hook on to the enamel chain in daffodil, because that daffodil is a perfect color to go with my dress that's going to match this whole look. Anyhow, I did the one side and put beads on, and now I'm doing the other side before I connect everything, because this is another thing I love about this. If I leave one end open, I can look at the whole thing and visualize it, reduce waste, make sure I really like what's going on here before I commit to anything. Now, the beads I'm using, there's a couple different yellow bead mixes. These are Jesse James beads. There's a couple different yellow mixes there's lemon sun, and the other one I will link them all in the description of this video, but I wanted to just mix and match and play, and I also am very visual, so I wanted to visualize how does the enamel chain look with these beads and this length of bead, etc., etc. Once I had decided all that looked good, I wire wrapped the other end, in one case to the chain, in the other case to the loop, to connect that all together. Then I'm going to do another batch of wire wrapped loops and beading here at the top of the enamel chain. It's a 4-inch section of enamel chain on each side. And this is going to connect to the the plain gold chain that goes around the back. And what you do is, as you can see, and I've done it a couple of times now, you make the loop, then you pull, once the loop is made, you pull the chain or whatever it is you're connecting through the open loop, then wire wrap. And that secures everybody so nicely. And I find, especially for bracelets and necklaces, really make sure that whatever I'm making is going to be sturdy and long lasting. And that's super important to me. And as of right now, I only make pieces for myself, friends and family, gifts, etc. But I like testing it out, and I like knowing that it's going to work and it's going to last. So I've got more beads here, As you can see, just a couple at the top of the enamel chain, and it's just because I'm super extra and I like to have more detail and more beads. And then as you can see, the chain around the back is just plain gold, and I do not have like a clasp or anything on this because this is long enough that it easily goes over my head, and I'm all about saving supplies. So if we don't need a clasp, skip it. And on to the next. And here you see what I was talking about where I'm getting it onto the enamel chain, so I'm linking that loop onto the enamel chain. This enamel chain has a tiny little hole there that you can get it to go through. And then once it's through, we'll hold it. It's easiest to do like you see me doing here, holding with the pliers. And by the way, this bent nose / round nose plier multi-tool is great, but if you just have a regular chain nose pliers, that's fine too. Or just regular round nose pliers, also fine. I just happen to have and use this particular tool, and I like it a lot. I think it's super useful. Now the earrings, there's really nothing to say. We could simply use a jump ring just to make sure that the way that the loop is hanging is correct onto an ear wire and be done. Or we could do a simple loop, which is what I'm doing here. I'll be honest, I'm not a big simple loop person. I only use it when I want to have a very minimal footprint. When I don't want like the extra space of the wire wrapping, then I go simple loop. But I'm going to tell you two things. Number one, for whatever reason, I am terrible at simple loops. Way, way, way worse than when I'm doing wire wrap loops. I just don't know what it is. And number two, they're less secure because they're not wrapped. They're flexible. They're open and close and reopen, reclose them, that too. So since they're a little less secure, it's a little, I don't want to say a risk, but there's just that element of, things can be changed and a little less stable, which is why I mostly use this sometimes on necklaces, but mostly earrings. I don't tend to use it on bracelets only because I'm a little rough on my bracelets. So sometimes I do use it on a bracelet if I've got something I just really want that look, but mostly you're going to find it for me. You're going to find it on earrings. And I am just putting a single bead with some little bead caps here to connect, because I need something to connect the charm to the ear wire so that the charm hangs the correct direction. Because that's something to think about with these projects, is what way is the loop going versus what way is the other connector or the other loop going. That's just something to consider when you're trying to get things to lay flat. And if you have something that's not laying flat, take a look at that. Now, some things, like if we're doing our wire here that I'm using, we can bend the wire. Some things like my charm, I can't bend the charm. Anyhow, I'm just super excited by this project. I had so much fun making it. I love this character. I love this movie, and I love this Disneybound. I hope that you have liked this look at my little Pepa earrings. If you have any questions or requests for future, feel free to drop me a comment. Let me know. I'll see you next time.